to be locked inside of a steel cage. There's going to be nobody to hold us apart. Really, nobody to hold me back from pounding this dude's head in. I mean, he's screwed. He's absolutely screwed.
Vengeance Day of NXT was in the Carolinas. And guess who else was there? Faction 919, you're looking at us. Fanman, C Rich, Darren Stone, Surfer J, and JB. This, Season 2, Episode 3, NXT special. Because why? Because we were there. We've seen it all. If you want to know what happens, guess what? You're watching the right podcast, all right? So, we're all there. And today's special is about NXT Vengeance Day, as I said. So, and hey, right off the bat, man, got to say, without even going into it yet, what a great time it was amongst all you gentlemen, and what a great show it was. Kudos to Shawn Michaels, who's like the head, who's kind of running that show now. It was Triple H, now Shawn Michaels. He was even there, so we got to see him. And the intro video, there's an intro video that played at the beginning of the show, and Charlotte's on Charlotte. I introduced the match by match, and it was a good time. And that's what we're going to do today is talk about the NXT special Vengeance Day, and it was our first time traveling outside of Orlando for the year since the pandemic, and they chose the Queen City. So, and right off the bat, everyone's thoughts of what it was like, the crowd, the atmosphere. How was it to you guys?
I was very disappointed.
Anyway,
I'm disappointed because the kid behind me
wouldn't.
wouldn't. I tried to challenge the kid behind us for his belt, and he wouldn't do it. I thought if you brought
Right.
a belt, you have to be challenged for it. I should have been able to take him. He was 6.
Anyway, while you nerds are talking other stuff, let me actually give you the real opinion that matters about the show last night.
Yes, Jeremy, go ahead.
Top notch. Every match, top to bottom, was beyond my expectations. Crowd was into it for the most part from start to finish. Results were basically what yours truly had predicted they would be. And again, A+ show, A+ show.
Yeah, for sure.
So we don't need anybody else's opinion. We can just move on. We can just move on now.
Right. But the biggest thing was Section 919 is still your tag team champions and best podcast around. I have the belts here to prove it. Anyone at the Spectrum Center, inside, outside, they were not able to take these belts. Any two of us. All right? Any one of us. If it was one of us, you take both belts and put it on any one of us, and we'll take it on 1-on-2. Still not going to be able to do it.
The Freebird rule on steroids. Yeah.
Right.
Five. Yeah. We're like the what was that? The Spirit Squad when they're like 5 members of the Spirit Squad.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that is exactly right. We are exactly like a mix of the Spirit Squad and a Shane McMahon's faction.
Oh yeah, the Mean Street Posse.
Yes, that is us completely together.
Oh my god.
I thought the show was fantastic. The atmosphere was very, very, very good. I mean, the last WWE WWF show I went to was in Richmond, Virginia, and it was in 1985. So it was a huge difference, in the last 36 years, 38 years or whatever. But I thought the fans were really, really into it, and I liked how, the fans would be kind of torn between, as a group, kind of torn between, one side of the aisle and the other side of the aisle, if you will. I mean, there were as many Grayson Waller fans there as there was Braun Breaker. So I mean, that I think that's more of a sign of today's product, but it was nice. It was really good. First class production. absolute first class production. But I guess you would expect that from the WWE. I mean, I I thought the matches, I thought all the matches were good. There were some I liked more than others, but I thought all the matches were good, and I agree with Darren. I would definitely give it an A.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really even know what to expect. I hadn't been keeping up with NXT religiously last couple of years, but it exceeded my expectations for sure. I mean, we'll go into the matches, but it was hard to top the first match for me.
It also seemed like a pre-pandemic, especially NXT was very smarky, very different crowd set, almost exactly what you think of AEW is now. But it was very interesting. I mean, we mentioned, there was a kid behind us, and he cheered for every good guy. That's who I could tell who was the good guy, because sometimes you couldn't tell by half of the crowd.
Right.
And so, that alone, I felt like really good. It was basically, and felt like it. Not, I don't want to use the phrase how it should be, but everybody was having fun. There was nothing really crazy or anything, but one side would cheer, the other side would cheer. It was all back and forth and good fun.
Even the kid in front of us had a little Roman Reigns figure with him. I asked him if he had acknowledged his tribal chief. Um, but the thing is, he may be Roman Reigns uh, a fan, and that may be his favorite. But WWE's in town, and so his whole family was there. It was like a family of 4 or 5, and so even though Roman and the Raw and SmackDown is not exactly who's in town, but it's WWE at the end of the day. NXT people coming up, and hey, it
you
gets the
know,
whole family going.
it's I was thinking while we were there, it was like, and I'm looking around the crowd, and there's a lot of people with families there. And knowing what those tickets go for, I mean, if you have a family of 4, you're really looking at $200 in tickets alone. And, it's another $10 to $12 for parking. It's you know, going to the concession stands every 10 minutes, and so I mean, I that is definitely that's pretty pricey. Even for, even if it's just NXT, it's still pricey. So it's definitely a family type of event. I mean, certainly you get your money's worth, but I just, I started thinking about that, and it was like, yeah, I mean, this could be kind of like, the event for a family of 4 for 6 months or something like that.
Yeah. They definitely make it worth your while, and they know that, and they're able to translate and make it worth every penny. So, kudos to those guys, that production team, and the performers themselves. So, very good. So let's get into it a little bit here. Um, NXT Vengeance Day, the Spectrum Center in Charlotte. We started off right off the bat for the NXT North American Championships. Wes Lee versus Dijak. Now, I think we were all kind of saying right off the bat, this was probably match of the night, and it was the first match. I'm not saying the
Yeah.
rest of them didn't, live up to the expectation or everything died down after that. It was just, man, the crowd was into it. It it really got
Yeah.
the best
It,
performers out there first, and got the crowd hot and into the rest of the event.
well, it was your classic David versus Goliath kind of event match, um and of course the David won, so he retains his title. Uh but I something that was taught to me um when I first started doing this stuff. Um I think it was George South that was the one that kind of pulled me aside and kind of gave me an idea of what to do, because I didn't know. But one of the things he said was, you want to start off your card with a really, really hot first match, because that gets the crowd into it and everything like that. And he goes, and then after that, you can kind of pace it, pace the show after that. But you want that first first match to be hot, and this one definitely was.
The one thing I will say is, high spot after high spot, power spot from Dijak, false finish after false finish after false. I mean, every time I was expecting the match to be over on either side. We also got to remember that Dijak broke his finger, and I just
Yeah.
saw an X-ray on Twitter. That thing is snapped in half. Bones are just so. Kudos to him for luckily for him, it happened towards the end of the match, but you could kind of tell when he was leaving the ring that his finger was just kind of all jacked up. He showed a nice little picture of it on Twitter last night before it got X-rayed today. So, and we are not the only ones that thought it was match of the night. Everywhere you look about Vengeance Day last night, match of the night, great start, hot, over and over. Wesley and Dijak killed it, knocked it out of the park, and definitely, again, taking nothing away from the other 5 matches, but Wesley and Dijak, hit a home run last night, and kudos to them.
And kind of going with Carl said, but the movie High Fidelity has this whole entire bit in it about making a mixtape. You have to kind of start, like you said, hot, but you can't go too high. You can't. You have to have somewhere to go. After your first one, you have that level. Bring it down a little bit, then you can bring it back up. And unfortunately, every match was near that level, but it was just like nothing could really beat it. I mean, at one point, my favorite spot of that match was Dijak just picked Wesley up and threw him by his legs over the top rope and outside. I was like, I don't think I've really ever seen that kind of a move where just like, I'm grabbing your legs, you're out of the ring. And then it was just like that constantly, power, and then something crazy out of the sky. So, I mean, just, I think that was the best match for me as well as everybody else. It was just insane just how they kept going for 20 minutes.
I mean, what this proves to me is that Sean and all the NXT producers have a lot of faith in Wesley to keep pushing him. Sky's the limit for him. And I've got a couple notes, for later in the card for Sky's the limit. But Wesley, again, this guy's going through a hell of a year, with his tag team partner getting in trouble and getting, booted. He had no idea, what his future held. They slowly transitioned him to a singles performer, and now boom, look where he's at. So
Yeah, and you really didn't even need to know either one of the wrestlers. Like I vaguely knew Wesley. Now I remember he's the guy from the Rascals in TNA. But they did it, David and Goliath. It was very clear from the start. This is what's going on. This is what you need to cheer. This is the guy you need to boo. But in the degree of difficulty on the moves that they did and all the spots, you're not going to see anywhere else other than a few AEW spots, maybe here and there, some PWG stuff on the indies. But they pulled it off in the Spectrum Center, which is a packed crowd, which is not hard to do. And piggybacking off what C. Rich said about the old timers, when I came in, it was first match, you don't go to the floor. Well, this was the first match. Within 10 seconds, they were on the floor, and they followed that with 6 other times. So things have changed a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of new things in that match that a lot of people hadn't seen. And Wesley ended up keeping his belt there and staying the NXT North American champion. Right after that, we had a women's tag team match. So we got to see a little bit of everything. That's another thing I realized. Kiera James and Fallon Henley versus Caden Carter and Katana Chance for the women's tag team championship. Another a bunch of spots, and just when you get a tag team going, and they also had managers with them as well. Kiera and Fallon, their boyfriends, whatnot.
Love
Yeah,
interests.
a lot to
Well,
love.
at least,
Yes,
at least for Kiana and Brooks Jensen. So anyway,
right.
Gentleman colors.
Yeah, and that match was a title change hands in that match. So,
by trickeration.
yeah,
by
not
trickeration.
not without some some controversy, but I mean, again, I'll agree with spot after spot. I mean, these guys, ladies, I should say, these ladies, pulled out all the stops when you with double team. When Katana went off the top rope, Frankensteinered Fallon Henley off of Caden Carter's shoulders, and
Yeah.
Katana Chance landed on her feet at the same time. That was a great spot. And but again, they were out on the floor. They were again, they hit it out of the park as well. And I love the fact because yours truly actually called the title change. So before it happened. So once again, there you go. A little Barry Horowitz action for you, those who remember. So there you go.
I think the former champions had a lot more chemistry, and they really flowed through that entire match, one move into the next, and just in and out and out. I think the other tag team is fairly new, and it always takes time for that. But they definitely have something planned for them. I know they're doing the bitter enemies and now frenemies kind of deal, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm wondering if post WrestleMania, Katana and her partner are going to be going up to the main roster for some strange, possibly because they were really. I mean, they're really known commodity and a face, and it's just like I understand why they need to lose, but
Chance and Carter are now officially the longest reigning NXT Women's Tag Team Champions of all time. Granted, the titles have only been in existence for a couple of years now, but there's been a lot of talk of when are they going up? When are they going up? I agree with JB that I mean the Raw after WrestleMania when a lot of this stuff happens, or even the SmackDown, because let's be honest, the main roster needs some good established tag teams. So there you go.
Yeah, could see that right after Mania. We could see more than just those two going up. And that ended with, like you said, a little trickery. Holding other feet to win the tag team championship.
I didn't see a thing.
Yeah, actually, it was so good we didn't see it.
Center of the ring.
Oh, you must be related to the referee then.
Yeah, you can't really blame him because even we didn't hardly see what had happened there. We caught it on the replay. Now, right after that, we had a 2 out of 3 falls match. Carmelo Hayes and Apollo Crews. Once Apollo Crews was on the main roster, he's come back down to NXT and he's had some success. He looks great. He's in phenomenal shape, like he always has been. And Carmelo Hayes, and he's probably grooming some guys down there. And he had a good dance partner with Carmelo Hayes. And we'll see him again later in the card. Something happened there. We'll see. But yeah, something that really doesn't happen a whole lot. It has happened before, but it doesn't happen a whole lot. It's 2 out of 3. Usually, one guy gets one, other guy gets the other, and then we come down to the third one. But
hey, Darren Stone,
the first two. Yeah,
yes.
Darren Stone. Who called that? Who called?
I don't quite remember. Anthony, keep moving, please.
See, Rich, I believe you heard somebody there in between you two say, "Could this go 2-0?"
It never happens. Go ahead, please.
And it was me. So go ahead, Anthony. Sorry.
Well, it did surprise me that actually that may have been the biggest surprise of the night for me, that it went 2 falls to none, because usually even if you're doing a 2 out of 3 falls match, whoever wins the first fall, a lot of times the second fall usually goes the other way and very quickly. Like I don't know, like a drop kick to the head or something like that, and the guy's stunned, and you roll him up for a pin, and in less than a minute and a half, the second fall has been awarded, and then you go into the third fall. So, but they didn't do it this time, and I just wonder what that does for Apollo Crews. I mean, I know what it does for Carmelo Hayes. I mean, geez, this guy's got this guy's a rocket ship right now.
Yeah, they did a good job with Carmelo Hayes. I think every now and then it's fun to just throw a monkey wrench.
Yeah.
We're expecting it to go 2 out of 3 and go all the way to the end. Sometimes just don't. Sometimes just trick everybody. But I think they did a good job with the packages before the match of telling you who Carmelo was, who Trick was, and if you didn't know who he was, by the end of the show, you sure did. And it sounds like he's going to be one of the next top guys in
Right.
NXT.
And I like the fact that Trick really didn't get involved in the match too much. You know, I mean, he did his, he jumped up on the apron a couple times, a little distraction here and there. He was not involved in the finish. And what I think it does for Apollo is I don't really think it hurts him because of the fact that he is such an established name. I don't think he had a problem doing the business last night, and they went to him and probably said, "You're going down 2-0." And I don't think he had a problem with it whatsoever because that's just the type of guy Apollo Crews is.
Yeah, and he's already into another feud immediately with his
Right.
formerly known as General or Commander Aziz.
Commander. Right. He a quick little surprise. He comes out. We think he's going to help him. He tries to help him. Kind of backfires. You know, they embrace in the ring, and next thing you know, he turns on him, and there's your next feud.
Yeah, good way to end that and open the storybook for both of them. Now they both have
Right.
another path. It's not like, well, now what? It's before
Yeah,
that match
because-
was even over, we saw two paths created.
Because
story
keep in mind,
continues.
this match was for the #1 contendership for the NXT Championship.
Yes.
So that'll
yes.
lead into here in a little bit.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So
That's called a tease.
So a teaser for later in the show. So, and while we tease your brain there, we'll talk about a little bit. Other than this podcast, hey, if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, you can check out the DNA Show, which is another Panthers podcast. Some events that are going on in your area and where you can find us on social media.
Hey, Carolina Panthers fans, this is Donnie.
And I'm Anthony.
It's a good pace on that, guys. Good pace. And I knew
I've got some
I knew
breaking
you were
news.
gonna. I knew you were gonna throw it in my face about the 2 out of 3 falls.
Now, when we get to the women's championship, I'm going to do a little breaking news. I guess Bailey's going to show up on NXT
Is she really?
and doing Ding Dong Hello for Toxic Attraction.
Oh, is she? Interesting.
Yeah, that's on Twitter with the NXT Twitter account.
God, I miss the Ding Dong Hellos. That's a great. That was fun.
You know, that first match was really good, but even before that, the applause that in the
Friday, March 23rd, Thomasville Middle School, Thomasville, North Carolina. It's Cheer City Clash 10.
Certainly, Shawn Michaels when he came out, that fired up the crowd a lot. So there was a lot of good stuff going into that first match, and also that first match did not disappoint at all. So
And the one thing we forgot to mention about the first match, we'll make it quick, is the Tony D'Angelo interference. Basically, I mean, it's no big deal, but that's what basically.
Unfortunately, that was like the most forgettable part of a great match. It was just like, all the stuff happened, and then one guy ran in and did something, but the rest of it was,
But that's going to lead into Dijak and Tony D'Angelo, obviously. But yeah.
Battle of the Fingers.
Friday, March 23rd, Thomasville Middle School, Thomasville, North Carolina. It's Cheer City Clash 10, featuring C.W. Anderson, Rob Boogie Woogie McBride, Mad Max, Big Money Incorporated, Gunner, and many others. Sunday, February 26th.